Alright, what is going on guys? It's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Now today I've got for you guys is my season overview as well as finale review for Season 6 of Vero. So if you guys have not seen the entirety of Vero Season 6, spoiler warning, but if you have, let's continue. This season of Vero was split up pretty much into two halves. In the first part of the season, we had to deal with the aftermath of the explosion of Lian Yu and the whole Adrian Chase storyline, as well as Oliver and Team Vero having to take on the new threat that was introduced last season in the form of Caden James. And while I didn't really care too much for Caden James as a villain, and I feel like his storyline was maybe dragged on a bit too much, I feel like they could have maybe condensed that into only a few episodes, like maybe 4 or 5, and they didn't have to go as long as they did with Caden James' storyline. I did feel like the introduction of his kind of team up of bad guys was actually a good thing for the show, and that was one of my favorite parts of the beginning of the season, was kind of that team up of villains that they had, but Caden James just wasn't doing it for me. But eventually, I feel like it was a couple of episodes after the mid-season finale for the season, Caden James was eventually captured by Team Vero, and then eventually killed by the new big bad of the season who finally came out of the shadows and revealed himself. Ricardo Diaz, or the Dragon, officially took over as the big bad of the season, determined not only to take Star City for himself, but to make Oliver suffer as he did it. And in my opinion, after Caden James was out and Diaz rose up to become the big bad of the season, this is where everything started getting really good for the season of Vero, and I feel like everything just from there picked up and started being much better than it was earlier on. And with Diaz taking over as the big bad of the season, it led to a lot more Black Siren and Earth 2 Laurel things, and this was one of my favorite storylines of the season. Seeing Black Siren go from a villain to now kind of a hero or an anti-hero in a way, we saw her get a full-on redemption arc throughout the season, and we're going to be seeing more of that next season. Hopefully she is going to be a series regular again next season, so hopefully we will see more of her redemption arc next season, maybe eventually actually join Team Vero and stuff. But it was really nice seeing her kind of, build up that relationship with her and Quentin throughout the season, and her turn more against Diaz and the rest of the villains and start trying to be more like the Earth 1 Laurel, start trying to be better and everything. So I think that again was one of my favorite parts of the season, was Black Siren's redemption arc. But back onto the topic of Diaz, we had Diaz pretty much just trying to take over the city, and he had all of the officials and everything. He pretty much corrupted everybody, and everybody was on his payroll, everybody was working for him, and the way that Diaz was actually able to take over the city so easily was because of the split up of Team Vero into old Team Vero and new Team Vero, as well as we also had Oliver having to deal with yet another impeachment storyline, all thanks to Diaz. And while some of the impeachment storyline for Oliver this year could be taken as kind of a retread to what has happened in previous seasons, we did also get some really cool new things this season as well, when we saw the trial and everything, and then we had the human target impersonating Tommy Merlin. That was one of my favorite episodes and one of my favorite parts of the season. So I did think that the whole impeachment storyline for Oliver, while it was a little bit of a retread, they did have enough new things in it to make it kind of fresh and new, and to actually make it pretty enjoyable. Oh yeah, and also the impeachment storyline did lead to Quentin Lance becoming the mayor of Star City, so that was also another thing that I really enjoyed. But the fracture of Team Vero, Oliver's impeachment, and pretty much every bad thing that happened to Oliver and Team Vero throughout the season was all the elaborate plan of Diaz, and I think it was great to show that Diaz is not just a crazy madman, but he is also a very structured and very intelligent planner, and he really kind of knows what he needs to do to get what he wants, and that was something that I really enjoyed about Diaz throughout the season. So going into the finale, we had Oliver finally reveal himself to the FBI agent, Agent Samantha Watson, as part of the 2-part deal that he made with her and the FBI to get her help in taking down Diaz and saving Star City. And that is exactly what we picked up with at the start of the finale. And we got a really awesome action scene here with sort of 2 parallel raids going on, Oliver and part of Team Vero taking back the SCPD with some help from the FBI, as well as Dig and Renee helping out the FBI with the raid on Diaz's hideout. So the Team Vero and FBI team up is pretty OP, and that was something that I really enjoyed throughout the finale. And with the FBI on the side of Team Vero, they actually did stand a chance at taking down Diaz once and for all. And at the same time that Team Vero is trying to take down Diaz, he had some contingency plans put in place to make sure that it didn't happen. He threatened to kill Laurel if Quentin didn't do what he wanted, and just kind of use his powers as the mayor to get the FBI out of Star City. And this this kind of led to Team Arrow trying to trick Diaz, but it ended up with Team Arrow kind of falling into a trap and Quentin ending up being taken by Diaz to where Black Siren is and locked up with her. But something else going on throughout the entire episode was Oliver pretty much saying all of his goodbyes and making amends and getting back on good terms with everybody that he wasn't in the best of places with on Team Arrow, and this was because of the second part of that agreement that he had with Agent Watson, and it turned out to be pretty much what everybody thought it was going to be. Oliver had to agree to go back to prison and kind of turn himself in exchange for the help of the FBI and immunity for everybody else on Team Arrow, and he's going to actually have to go and serve that life sentence, hence the title of the episode. And now going back to the Quentin, Black Siren, and Diaz stuff, all of it was really good and definitely pretty emotional throughout the episode. It was just great to see how far Black Siren has come throughout the season, all thanks to help from Quentin and sort of setting her on the right path, and it's just been great to see her develop throughout the season. So after learning that Diaz had both Laurel and Quentin and tracking where they were, Oliver and Team Arrow along with the FBI made one final assault on Diaz and his operation, leading to the final confrontation with Oliver and Diaz in a pretty awesome rooftop fight in the rain. But right when Oliver seemed to have Diaz, Laurel came back from helping get Quentin to safety and ended up canary crying Diaz off the building and into the water below, which she hoped would be the death of Diaz, but as we all know, if you don't see a body, they're not dead, and Oliver pretty much knew it at the moment that it definitely would not be enough to finish the job on Diaz. So Diaz was in the wind, and he is going to be coming back next season as sort of the villain for the first part of that season and the first part of that storyline. But even with Diaz in the wind, the whole thing wasn't a total loss, because Oliver was able to get the names of everybody that was on Diaz's payroll and end up giving it to the FBI. But after this was all wrapped up, we got a super emotional scene between Oliver and Quentin in the hospital before Quentin had to go into surgery, which definitely did end up mirroring the scene between Oliver and Laurel back during season 4 before she died as well. So these shows really do know how to hit you in the feels and make you want to cry, don't they? But after the emotional goodbye between Oliver and Quentin, we got the first meeting with Sarah and Black Siren, which was definitely nice to finally see. We had Sarah asking her if she was anything like the Earth 1 Laurel, and Black Siren ended up replying with saying that she is nothing like her, but it seems like she is definitely trying to be better, and I'm very excited to see what she will be doing next season, going after Diaz and everything, and if she's actually going to end up joining Team Arrow or sort of just stay on her own. But this led right into the big bomb drops of the episode right after the Laurel and Sarah conversation. We had the FBI coming back to arrest Oliver because he did have to hold up the second part of the agreement, because the only way that the FBI was actually going to help Oliver and give Team Arrow immunity was if Oliver ended up turning himself in the end of the whole Diaz situation. And right as Oliver was being cuffed by the FBI, we had the doctor come out to confirm everyone's worst fears. Quentin had ended up dying in surgery. Man, the doctors at this hospital just aren't very good at their jobs. I mean, Quentin and Laurel actually ended up dying in surgery here, so I don't know what's going on here. All of their patients seem to be dying, so I'd say next season, if somebody's dying near the finale or in the finale, just take them to a different hospital. Maybe they'll have some better luck. I don't know. But yeah, that was pretty sad that Quentin actually ended up dying in surgery, very reminiscent of how Laurel died back in season 4. And even though I knew about the leaks going into the episode and I knew it was coming, it was definitely still a very impactful scene having Oliver and Sarah and Laurel and everyone having to hear that Quentin died, and this was just a very sad but very well done scene, and I will definitely miss having Quentin around next season. But unfortunately, even with the death of Quentin, it didn't change the fact that Oliver still had to go to prison, the Supermax prison like in the cancelled Green Arrow Escape from Supermax movie, so I thought that that was a nice little reference there. But after saying his goodbyes to William and Felicity, Oliver was escorted outside for transport to the Supermax prison, where we got the scene I've been waiting for all season. Oliver was able to give his I Am Iron Man speech to the press, revealing to them and the world that he in fact is the Green Arrow and has been all along. So this was a really awesome scene with Oliver pretty much just saying to everybody that, yeah, I am the Green Arrow, I have been the Green Arrow all along, and he's just like, hey, everybody, you gotta keep fighting. I've been fighting to save my city, and even with me gone, there are still people that are going to be fighting for the city and for the good of the people within the city. So I thought that this was just a great scene and an awesome thing to sort of wrap up the season with Oliver saying, I am the Green Arrow, and sort of being very similar to the I Am Iron Man thing at the end of the first Iron Man movie. And so going into next season, we will most likely be seeing Team Arrow kind of come back together, and most likely Diggle will actually be the Green Arrow leading leading Team Arrow starting at the beginning of Season 7, because we did see him with the briefcase with the second Arrow suit, so most likely Diggle will take back up the mantle of the Green Arrow with Oliver in prison, sort of bringing back Team Arrow together and sort of fighting for the city now that Oliver is in prison. And also with Team Arrow going into Season 7, hopefully Laurel actually ends up joining Team Arrow to help take on Diaz as well, which he is going to be the main villain of the first part of the season. I don't know how long. I don't know if he's going to go up to the mid-season finale. I don't know if he's only going to be in there for the first few episodes, but hopefully we will be seeing a lot more of Diaz next season and getting a proper ending to his storyline that was started this season. And it was a very good storyline, and I can't wait to see how they wrap up Diaz next season. And after they wrap up Diaz next season, the rest of the season will most likely be filled with the Longbow Hunters, which were mentioned at the beginning of the episode, and Mark Guggenheim, one of the showrunners, did say that they will be in next season, so I don't know if they're only going to be with Diaz at the beginning of the season, because in the comics, Diaz is the leader of the Longbow Hunters, but we'll just have to wait and see how that goes on for next season. So maybe the Longbow Hunters will come in after Diaz is defeated, or maybe they will just be with Diaz in the first part of the season, and maybe something like the Quadrant will be the other villain for Season 7. But for the final scene of Season 6, the cliffhanger of the season, we had Oliver being walked into the Supermax prison, and when he was going to go into his cell, when he turns and you see his back, you actually do see that the prison uniform does say Slabside Prison, which again was the Supermax prison that the Green Arrow was supposed to be in the canceled Green Arrow Escape from Supermax movie. So again, that is a very cool reference there. So hopefully we will actually be able to see maybe a little bit of that canceled storyline being implemented into next season with Oliver being in jail. I think that would be pretty cool to see. But the season ends off with Oliver being locked into his cell, unable to escape or get out until his city needs him once again, and most likely he'll be out by the time of the crossover, or by the time that sort of rolls around next season, but he might also be out earlier. He will most likely be out earlier. He'll probably get out within the first few episodes, unless they maybe pull a Flash thing and he gets out in the first episode, but I wouldn't expect that to happen. So overall, this was a really good finale for Arrow. It really did help redeem a lot of the missteps from earlier in the season with Caden James and not introducing Diaz as the big bad until pretty late in the season, but setting up Diaz as the villain for the first part of Season 7, I think, was a very smart move on their part, letting this stuff bleed over into the next season. But again, going into Season 7, I really hope that now with Laurel wanting revenge on Diaz for the death of Quentin, hopefully she will end up suiting up with Team Arrow, most likely being led by Diggle, and going out and helping put a stop to Diaz. But also with this Team Arrow, Roy will be coming back as a series regular next season, so since he was kind of, exonerated by Oliver revealing himself as the Green Arrow, Roy will be able to come back into Star City and be like, hey, I'm not dead, I'm not the Green Arrow, I can just go out and do whatever I want now. He can come back and be, live his normal life again, but, going out as a vigilante. And one more thing for Season 7, Steve Amell did confirm that Oliver will be getting a new hairstyle in Season 7 and hinted and pretty much confirmed that at least for a little bit, we will be seeing Oliver with the classic Green Arrow goatee from the comics, so get hyped for that. So other than that, guys, what did you think of Arrow Season 6 overall? Did you like the season? Did you like the finale? Did you like Diaz as the main villain? And are you excited to see him coming back as the villain for the first part of next season? Also, what did you guys think of Oliver's I Am Iron Man speech, revealing himself as the Green Arrow, as well as him going to prison next season? How do you think that's all going to wrap up? I want to know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Taz, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Mr. Queen, why are you being arrested again?
I have voluntarily handed myself over to the FBI.
Can you comment any further?
Yes, I can. I am the Green Arrow.